Good morning, students. Good morning to all. So yesterday we have studied about the effects on inflations, right? Have you remember what we have studied on yesterday in this effects on inflation? Okay, right. So today also just we will remind about the effects on inflations. The effects on inflations. So we have studied the different type of the causes are there to arising the inflation situations, right? But after arising the inflation situations, what will happen wherever the inflations will be affect mean. So we can classify the effects on inflation into two heads. First one is effects on production and the effects on distributions. Okay, so in the side of production also so many effects will be there, and on the side of distribution also so many effects are there. First, what will happen in the production side mean? First, the inflation discourages the savings on the part of the public. Okay, how the inflation situations will be discourage the savings of the part of the public mean? Normally the price of that commodities is increased mean. What will happen? So we must have many or more money to spending to consuming any of the commodities, right? Normally if the price of that commodity is increased or it is the hyperinflation situation is existing in our nations, the public have to spend more money to consuming their commodities. Okay, for example, even if you want to drink one cup of tea, so we must carry many money or more money. So in this situation is going on, so normally the people will not get the interest to saving the amount in their bank, because day by day the price of that commodity is increased mean daily they have to take the money from their account. Okay, instead of taking day by day, so if they have more money in their pocket itself in the form of cash, it will be helpful. Okay, so because of having more money they have to spending more money to consuming commodities. Okay, so there is no need, there is no possible to depositing the money in their savings account. Okay, so normally so the price of the commodities or the increasing the price of commodities will be discouraging the savings on the part of the public. Next, it drain out the foreign capital already invested in the country. Normally many foreign investors invested in our country, and in our country if the hyperinflation situation is existing, what will happen? Our value of money may be declined very low. Okay, so in this situation is going on, so the foreign investors will be taken back their amount already they have invested in our nations, because when we have the more value of money only, so the foreign investors can get the more profit. Otherwise it is not possible to earn the more profit. Okay, suppose if they find out if there is no possibilities to earning more profit mean, they will take back their amount already they have invested. Okay, next, it will discourage entrepreneurs and businessmen from taking risk of loss. So normally throughout the year the entrepreneurs and the businessmen are taking many risk. Okay, so one of the risk is the bearing the risk of losses. Okay, but whenever the economy is facing the trade cycle, so any one time they have to facing the losses. Okay, but in the time of hyperinflations, so the price of the commodities always will be in very higher. Okay, and the public also will not be able to purchasing the commodities of beyond one level. Okay, so after that level, if the producers are producing some amount of the commodities, so these commodities are produced commodities will not going to the market. Even if it is going to the market, so it will not be sell. Okay, so automatically so the loss will be arised. Okay, So on the base of the inflation, hyperinflation, so the entrepreneurs and the businessmen will not ready to taking the risk of losses. Okay, so it will discourage the entrepreneurs and businessmen from taking risk of loss, and they will stop their business activities, and they will reduce to amount of business level. Okay, next, inflation also leads to hoarding of essential goods. So many of the entrepreneurs or the producers also will be holding their produced essential commodities. Okay, because the price of the commodity is increased or continuously increased, mean, so they will use that inflation time, and in which he will holding all the produced commodities. And when they are holding the all commodities in their warehouses, so automatically the price of holding commodities will be increase. Okay, so after increasing the commodities, he will be bring out to the market, and he will fixing their price of the commodities at higher rate. Okay, next, inflation encourages investment in speculative activities. Speculative activities mean, so by the way of predictions, so the instead of making the investment on produced, so the entrepreneurs or the investors or the shareholders will be investing on the shares and debentures. Okay, because on the price time of the inflations, the value of shares and debentures will be increased. Because how the value of debentures and the shares will be increased means, so on the basis of the price of that commodity. Okay, now if the price of that gold is increased mean, so the value of the shares and gold also will be increased. Okay, so instead of making the investment on the production, so all the producers and the investor will be making the investment on the shares and debentures. Okay, so this is also will be leads to more inflation, because there is no production and there is more demand, mean automatically the prices also will be increased moreover. Okay, so this is all the effects on the production. Okay, so today we will study the effects on the distribution. Okay, effects on distribution. How the inflations will be affect the distribution side, and what are the factors are there, what are the members are there in this distribution side, mean, first, the debtors and the creditors. So who will get the benefit and who will get the loss in the inflation time, mean, during inflation time the debtors are the gainers while the creditors are loss. Can you guess why the debtors are gainers while the creditors are losses? When the time of inflation, debtors will be as a gainers, because the debtors always borrowed the money in the time of normal price rate. Okay, and they will give back to the borrowed money to the creditors in the inflation time. So in the inflation time, so the value of money may be decreased. Okay, normally if in this normal time, if the debtors borrowed some amount of the money from the creditor and give back to that same amount in the time of inflations, so the value of money may be decreased. So the debtors also will be able to give that borrowed money to the creditors, but the creditors will be get the same amount with the low value. Okay, so the during inflation the debtors only will be as a gainers. Okay, so the debtors can able to give the borrowed money to the creditors, because in the inflation time, so the availability of money will be higher even to the debtors. Okay, but even the creditors get back the money from the debtors, he cannot able to spend the money on the same value on the time of giving the money to the debtors. Okay, so the purchasing power of money in the time of inflation will be very low. Okay, but the debtors will be easily give back the money, because the value of money is low and the volume of money is higher. Okay, that because of that, so the debtors will be as easy to give back that money to the creditors. But after receiving the money from the debtors, the creditors will not able to having the more purchasing power. Okay, but the creditors would be as very much purchasing power in the time of normal. Okay, so the during inflation time, the debtor will be as a gainer and the creditors will be as a losses because of the purchasing power of money and the value of money. The inflation time, the due to reducing the inflation, due to reducing the value of money in the time of inflation, the debtor can easily give back the money to the creditor, and the creditor will be not able to having the more purchasing power. Next, fixed income groups. How fixed income group will be affected by the way of inflations mean. The fixed income groups are the worst hit during inflations. Why? So normally the fixed income people will get some amount of the income as a fixed. Okay, so even the normal time, if they are getting 10,000 rupees, and if the 10,000 rupees only is able to fulfill their basic needs, suddenly if the inflation situation is arrested, so all the price of that commodities may be in higher. Okay, but their income always will be in fixed. Okay, by having the fixed income, so if they want to purchase unit of the power commodities, it is unable, it is not able to purchase because their income is same, but the price of that all commodities has been increased. Okay, so how they purchased the fixed income group in the normal days is very lower in this inflation time. Okay, so the fixed income group always will be affected by the way of inflations because of the price of increasing the price of commodities. Okay, when the price of commodity is increased, if their income is not increased, so the fixed income group will be affected by the way of purchasing more commodities. Okay, so normally they have to reduce the amount of purchasing commodity. Okay, so the reduced amount of commodity is sometimes unable to fulfill their basic needs. Okay, so in the normal time, if the price of that 1 kilo rice is just 50 rupees and their income also is enabled to purchasing the 10 kilo 1 kilo rice by 50 rupees mean. So in the time of inflations, the price rate is maybe increased from 50 to 70, and in that time the fixed income group unable to purchasing that 1 kilo rice with 70 rupees. Okay, so they will reduce the 1 kilo rice to half kg rice. Okay, next, entrepreneurs. So in the time of inflations, all the entrepreneurs will be get the boon situations. The many benefit will be having or enjoying by the entrepreneurs and the producers only. Okay, so in this time of inflation, whether there are the entrepreneurs, businessmen, merchants, or the wholesaler, or the trader, or any of the commercial activities will get the more profit. Okay, because it serves as a tonic for business enterprise. Okay, normally if the price of that commodity increased, what will happen? So in the time of in the side of production will be increase. Okay, because the producers always expecting the price increasing the price of commodities. Okay, he is always expecting the time for increasing the price for commodities. If it is increase, so he will or the producers will be increasing their supply of commodities. Okay, so even sometimes if the price of any commodity is in very higher, and if there is more demand for that same commodities, the entrepreneur or the producer, all type of the sellers will have many chance to earning more profit. Okay, because in the inflation time, so the price of commodity will be increased. Okay, and in the same time, if there is demand is more demands are there, what will happen? So the producers will be increasing their supply. Otherwise, they will be increasing their supply. Already they have stock in their warehouse. Okay, so within the low production cost, they can able to get more profit. Okay, so in the inflation time, so all the entrepreneurs, producers, or the retailer and the wholesaler and all type of the merchants will be get the more profits. Next, investors. How investors will be affected in the time of inflations mean? So normally the investors who generally invest in the fixed interest yielding bonds and securities have much to lose during inflations. Okay, so normally if the persons or the investors who are generally invest in the fixed interest yielding with bonds and securities, they will get more losses. Okay, because in this time of inflation the interest rate will be reduced in the bonds and securities. Okay, because the time of inflation no one will have the opportunity to borrow the money from financial organizations. Okay, then automatically the bonds and the value of the bonds and securities will be reduced. Okay, so in that time, so all the investors who generally invest on the bonds and the securities will meet the more losses. Okay, but in the same time, those who invest in the shares, they will get the more profit and more dividends also. Okay, because already I told you, no, so whenever the price of that commodity is increased, so the and the increasing the price of that commodities, the value of the shares also will be increased. Okay, so now the price of the gold is increased mean, so the shares value of the shares on gold also will be increased. Okay, so then those who all invest on the shares, they will get more profit, and those who all invest on the bonds and securities, they will get some losses. Okay, so in the distribution side, the debtors will be as a gainers and the creditors will be as a losses. Okay, because of the reducing value of money, the reducing value of money will give the benefit to the debtors and loss to the creditors. Okay, next, fixed income group people. How the fixed income group will be affected mean, so normally their income will be as same, and in the inflation time the price of the commodity only will be in higher. Okay, so by having the fixed income peoples unable to purchasing more money, they have to reduce the amount of the purchasing. Okay, next, entrepreneurs. The entrepreneurs will have more profit, they will get the boon level. Okay, so the inflation also gives the entrepreneurs as a tonic. So next, the investors. So the investors, those who are invest on the bonds and securities, they will get loss, and the investors who all invest on the shares, they will get profit. Okay, okay students, next, measures to control inflations. Okay, we have studied many reasons are there to arising the inflations, and many problem will be arised because of the inflation in the production and distribution side. Okay, so in this situation is going continuously, so our economy will be affected very much. Okay, so the government must be taking some of the measures to control the inflation situations. Okay, so what are the measures are there to controlling the inflations mean? So the three types of the measures are there. Under these three type of the measures, the government will take more efforts. Okay, so the three measures are, the first one is monetary measures, next one is fiscal measures, and other measures. Other measures mean some other way to controlling the inflation is called other measures. First, the monetary measures. So monetary measures mean by the way of reducing the supply of money, we can bring out the control of inflations. Okay, by reducing the supply of money, in our economy, so we can easily we can bring the control in inflations. Okay, that is called monetary measures. Okay, so in this monetary measures, first one is the government or the Reserve Bank of India will be increase in bank rate. First, we have to know about the bank rate. What's the meaning of bank rate? So, bank rate is one of the rate in which the Reserve Bank of India rendering the money to the other commercial bank. Okay, so normally all the commercial bank only will be provide the financial assistance to the entrepreneurs and the public. Okay, so for that, so the commercial bank of India will be fixing the rate of interest. Okay, so this rate of interest is also fixed by the guidelines of the Reserve Bank of India. Okay, so for the purpose of providing the financial assistance to the entrepreneurs and the public, so the commercial bank will be borrow the money from the Reserve Bank of India. Okay, now if the Reserve Bank of India increased the bank rate to the commercial banks, so the commercial bank also will be reduce the bank rate for rendering the money to the entrepreneurs and the public. Okay, now the commercial bank of India, now the commercial bank is increased the bank rate, so the borrowing capacity of the entrepreneurs and the public will be reduced. Okay, normally if the publics or if the people, normal people are borrowing the money from the commercial bank, only they can able to spend more luxury goods. Okay, like that the entrepreneurs also will be started any of the industries by borrowing the money from the commercial bank with the low rate of interest. Okay, now the Reserve Bank of India is increasing the bank rate to the commercial bank, so the commercial bank also will be in the need of increasing the bank rate to the entrepreneurs and the public. Okay, so due to increasing the bank rate of the commercial bank rate for borrowed money or rendering money, so the entrepreneurs and the public will be lost their interest to borrow the money. Okay, so normally the price level will be reduced because now the demand of the commodity will be reduced when there is no person to purchasing the commodity, or the persons are unable to purchasing the commodity. Only if the persons are having to purchase the basic necessity of commodities, the demand for the luxury goods and the other type of the good will be reduced. Okay, then demand will be reduced. On the basis of reducing the demand, the price of the commodities will be reduced abundantly. Okay, so the Reserve Bank of India normally increase the bank rate. Next, sale of government securities in the open market operations. The open market means, so without mentioning any of the place, the government will be announced to selling their securities to the entrepreneurs and the public. Okay, so when the governments are selling their securities and bonds to the public, so the government will be get some amount of money from the public. Okay, now how much amount of money is holded in the hands of public and the entrepreneurs will going to the hands of government. Okay, now the amount of holding money from the public will be reduced. Okay, and because of that their purchasing power and the wants to consuming the commodities also will be reduced, right? So normally the price of the commodities also will be reduced, the demand of the commodities also will be reduced, then the supply or the producers will be reduce their price of that commodity. Next, higher cash reserve ratio. Cash reserve ratio mean, so the minimum amount, all the commercial bank have to keep some amount of money in the hands of Reserve Bank of India as a reserve. Okay, for example, the property, the value of, so the property of one commercial bank is 100 crores means, so the minimum amount that 20,000 or the 30,000 must be provided to the hands of the Reserve Bank of India in the form of reserve. Okay, so this is the compulsory one to all the commercial bank. Okay, but in the time of inflation, the Reserve Bank of India will be increasing the cash reserve ratio. Okay, so on the basis of the guidelines of the Reserve Bank of India, all the commercial bank have to increasing the cash reserve. So they have to provide some more amount of money to the Reserve Bank. Okay, now how much of the amount will be in the hands of the commercial bank? The remaining amount only will be useful to providing the money to the entrepreneurs and the public. Okay, by having the low amount of the reserve or low amount of the money, so the commercial bank will not be able to rendering the financial assistance to the entrepreneurs and the public. Okay, because of that their purchasing power and the production cost also will be reduced, and the producers also will be stopped to continue their production organizations. Okay, the public also will be stopped to continue the consumption for the luxury or any other commodities. Okay. Okay students, today I think it's enough. So tomorrow we will see in this area. If you have any doubt, please ask me.